there.
Oh, thank you. It's from Studio Ghibli, actually, the Japanese anime house. They released some wallpapers, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's my
Oh, cool.
bedroom. It's a nice.
Yeah, yeah, lovely. I like it. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
very
my
cozy.
bedroom. So.
Right.
With my this is my makeshift sound recording studio. It's a
Oh, I
hunting twine.
see.
I
Very
know.
nice. That's your green screen.
Well, it's my recording studio for my voiceover work. So
Oh, nice. You do voiceover work?
I'm trying to get into it more professionally. It's been a calling for a long time, and
Oh,
uh,
that's cool.
setting up a semi soundproof little system, and yeah, doing a
Cool.
lot
So
of.
where are you now? You're in California?
Yeah, I'm up in Arcata area.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm in the Bay Area. Mark and I
Yeah.
are both Mountain View,
Oh, nice. Okay.
Silicon Valley. Yes. So cool. So we have yeah, at least one other person from California, and then we have someone from Albuquerque, someone from Arizona, two from
Yeah.
Toronto now, and
Oh, nice.
also a couple people in Paris, someone in South Africa, maybe
Wow.
Italy, not sure yet, and a couple people in the UK. So
Oh, fabulous.
it's a global crew.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And so welcome. You said you came in through Tom.
Yeah. Yeah. We were in, God, I'm on so many things now. I don't know. We were in some group together, for the regenerative network. And
The Brewer, Joe Brewer group.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's pretty cool
exactly.
too, actually. He just crossed my radar on Rebel Wisdom
Oh, great. Oh,
podcast.
that sounds good. I'm like, make note of that. Rebel
Oh yeah,
Wisdom.
it's on YouTube, Rebel Wisdom. They have a series of interviews. There's a really good one that's with Brewer, Jim Rutt, who's sort of one of the founders of Game B, which is
Uh-huh.
like,
Great.
Game B a little bit.
Well, only like from reading it in the course description, I'm like, well, yeah, that's what we're working on here.
Yeah, and in fact, he's sponsoring two people in the class who are
Great.
old friends, and they're both want to make a movie about Game B, so he's going to be involved in it. So, and then the same podcast also has Nora Bateson, who's also really cool. She's actually on our advisors circle for Campus Co-Evolve. She's Gregory Bateson's daughter. She runs the Gregory Bateson Institute, and she's a really trippy systems thinker and change maker.
Excellent.
All the Rebel Wisdom stuff is good. Daniel Schmachtenberger is another good systems thinker. So,
yeah.
So I was gonna say, so what's your background? You have a background in meta theories like integral theory or spiral dynamics, or
Yeah, very meta background.
a meta
um,
background?
I grew up on Hollister Ranch, just north of Santa Barbara County,
Oh,
and
okay.
well, in Santa Barbara County, north of the city. And so got into environmentalism at a very young age when they put a very deadly pipeline through where I was living. And um, it was also a very beautiful natural place, and so it really connected me to nature. And I asked for my first camera when I was like 8, with just ever since then wanting to connect people to the beauty of nature and wanting them to protect it and save it. So how could we do that? How can we use media to make that connection? Then I discovered permaculture when I was a teenager, and was going to do film studies at UCSB, but it was more, I felt, just about reading about movies and concepts. And I'm like, no, I want to be making movies. And this was before they had any of the production courses that they do now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of meandered through college, and never really, I've done various trainings and various stuff. I've made a few short films, never to the level I really wanted to take it to. And I was the co-founder and publisher of Permaculture Magazine and the North American version for a few years, and have written. I was going to start a podcast when I was offered to start the magazine, so I did that instead, the magazine, and shelved the podcast. So yeah, I've used various forms of media throughout my life. And then from the permaculture standpoint of, systems thinking, studied Fritjof Capra's work. Daniel's. I just did one of the sessions for the Buckminster Fuller Institute's Space Camp, which
Oh, cool.
Daniel was one of our teachers in that. And so signing up for the next course with them. And so I work with a lot of international efforts and networking and creating a platform called the Weaver Network to help weave together all these networks, all these efforts around regenerative work, systems thinking, permaculture, the paradigm shift that's needed, that now suddenly we're like, oh shit. Like now's our opportunity. Now's maybe our last chance. And so I've actually been nomadic for over 10 years, and this is the first place I've lived for more than a month at a time in many years. So taking advantage of having a place where I can produce work, where I can take all these classes, where I'm mind body medicine and massage and natural healing, and how do we heal ourselves so we can heal the planet has also been a calling since I was a young girl. And so I got my massage license 20 some years ago, and now I've just done a training with the Center for Mind Body Medicine, and offering courses now, 8-week-long courses on that. And so really seeing how can I also spread this wider and to the healthcare workers and the frontline workers that need this, and to everybody who's dealing with the trauma of systems collapse that we're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, for years I've wanted to make, like, I don't know the exact term, biographical dramas, stories about people that are just doing amazing things, but not documentaries. I really don't like documentaries because of my own learning disabilities. I just go right to sleep with them. And so it's like, I would much rather see, and then therefore also much rather create just entertaining stories about the people's lives that then is teaching people. So you're not just preaching to the choir. Everybody would want to go see it.
Right. Yep. That's a big part of it, is just that a lot of transformative filmmakers and other media makers are very pluralistic, and they don't see all the other structures. So they tend to just transmit to the choir. They tend to be talking to people who think like them, and you're not going to create that shift in society at scale with that. So that's one of the reasons we're doing this. Training this, and that sounds great. So you have a bit of media experience as well, obviously, and experience. And what would you say are your learning edges? Like, what do you most want to work on in the class? Or
I was trying to kind of wonder exactly what you guys meant by learning edges. And so, what do I want to gain from it? I feel like I've got kind of a foundation that I've laid, maybe I've poured the cement, but now it's like, okay, what is the structure? What's the best tools I want to build the house on, and how would that look, and some help building it. If I was to build it all myself, it's gonna probably fall down in the first windstorm. So to use a analogy, just some help and guidance, working on a lot of big systematic change things. And so I still see media as one of the greatest tools we can use for that. So I'd love to.
Definitely. Yep. I would say media that's what we think as well. So we want to train people to do this in a more powerful way.
Yeah.
And, so there's definitely that. And also the way Campus Co-Evolve is designed, it's a collective intelligence organization. The founder, George Poor, is a wonderful pioneer in collective intelligence. He's a Hungarian dissident, spent some time in jail as a dissident, and then he was an activist. And so he's been in this game for decades, and done a lot of corporate trainings as well, but he's really interested in the power of collectives to, it's the Buckminster Fuller idea of synergy. That's behavior of whole systems. It's unpredicted by behavior of the parts, So that's what that is. And so a lot of times you get a collective intelligence, you can do things that 10 times that many people couldn't do on their own. You can get collective. Yeah. And we're starting to build this community of practice. Our last cohort was very powerful. And if we get enough people involved, then that'll be an ongoing community of practice even outside of the class, which is cool.
Fabulous. Right.
So that's certainly part of the purpose of this. And also just to give you other ideas to help upgrade your perceptual operating system. Everybody said they went through profound shifts in their perception sense and their sense of self, other, and world. I don't know if you saw the 2 testimonials I sent with Victor and Rachel.
Gosh, they're not ringing a bell, but
Oh,
I
actually, they
scanned
might
over.
not. It might have been in the first group of emails I sent out. I might not send. I can send you those, and I'll send you the list of links for the class too, just recommended. One of them
Great.
is just an introduction to the integral worldview, or the integral operating system, they call it, iOS.
Yeah.
And then so there's that one, and then there's a couple videos. We made a set of videos that we're halfway through. We haven't done the others, of 10 keys to more powerful media, which are not public yet, but we've put them up, and they're designed for media makers who don't have any experience in integral theory or any of that stuff. They just want, like the idea that we have structures of consciousness and you can be aware of them and embed them in your work so that you can approach people at different stages.
Yeah.
And then I also have a podcast called the TEHNC podcast, which is The Emperor Has No Clothes. And Mark, who's the lead faculty, have done a lot of ones related to media, where we've looked at things like Black Panther and Messiah, different shows that we think are very integral, communicating very complex stuff. Like Black Panther is an amazing example of that, because it's a film that looks like a Marvel superhero film, and yet it's embedding all kinds of
So much.
structural stuff in it.
Yeah.
All
I
the
just
major
watched it for
characters.
the second time and seeing it again. It's like, oh my God, the layers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with complex media in general. When you watch it a second time, it's a different. You just see everything is different than you thought. You say, "Oh, I thought it was about this, but it's actually about something completely different." You get that détournement halfway through in that one. But it's also one of the only films we've ever seen which actually shows the evolution of characters from one stage to the next. All of the female characters represent a structure of consciousness in its healthy form, and all the male characters are a structure in its pathological form. And there's 4 male characters that actually transition up a stage, 2 from mythic to rational, 1 from rational to pluralistic, and 1 from pluralistic to integral. And the king is sort of integral, but he's immature, and he becomes a mature integral king through the course of the thing. So it's all embedded in this thing, and you could not see any of it. You could just, it's just a cool, film.
Yeah.
But when you
Ooh,
see
lots
it
of
through,
guns and shooting and yeah.
as you watch it over and over, it's just kind of amazing. And so we've done a series of podcasts on that, and on I say Messiah, which is a show on Netflix. It's also integral, and Undone.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I made note I wanted to because
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, if you take our class, when you start watching it, I mean, the very first episode, there are 5 structures of consciousness represented. So it's kind of unpacking how these different structures are responding to the arrival of this Messiah-like figure in the modern world. Some of them are pre-modern, some of them are modern, some of them are post-modern. So all these different people are seeing it through their lens. And he's actually an integral figure because he's communicating to them through the appropriate structure for each of them. And that's all kind of embedded in this work. And so we're like,
nice.
wow. So,
Okay,
so there's a
cool.
lot of that kind of stuff. And it kind of ruins you, because then when you watch media, you can never look at it the same again once you do this work. Like everything is just, if it's not communicating in a complex way, it's just kind of dull. Even if it's an exciting story, you're like, it's just not that interesting.
Yeah. I'm already there with most media. I get something 20 minutes, and if it's like not worth
It's
it.
got to be cool. So did you have any other questions for me or anything about the class? I guess you didn't see the orientation, but we'll send you the orientation. The link
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
we were kind of talked about and introduced ourselves and see who else.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, because I am in a big time crunch, it would probably be important though still to watch it
Yeah, I
and
mean, it's a good idea for, first of all, everyone introduces themselves. So that's the
yeah,
big,
so then I know.
and then
Yeah.
Samira talks a little bit about Moodle. She's our TA, and she talks about the platform, the education platform.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah.
Not very
I can,
complicated. And then Mark talks about the class, which is kind of useful too.
okay, great. Yeah. If you're able to send it tomorrow, I can watch that this weekend.
Yeah, so I'll
Oh my
send
God.
you that. And then other than that, I mean, it's a 90-minute class once a week.
Okay.
And then there will be another 90-minute community of practice session, probably on Wednesday, as we did last time, but we'll see what works for people. That's an
Okay.
optional one. You can come if you can or not. You can bring a project that you're simmering and working on. We can discuss it. If you have technical questions, like how do I make this look cool, or like how can I create more tension or whatever, anything you want can bring into those sessions. And then you will be also working with a group. So we'll break you up into teams of like 4 people, and you'll want to coordinate with them sometime when you can meet to talk, and there'll be some.
Okay, great. And
Practice.
so that hasn't happened yet. Will that happen
None
on
of that's
Monday?
happened yet. That'll happen after the introduction, actually, next week. So.
Okay. Okay, great. Will I have maybe a moment to introduce myself to
Sure.
the
Oh
group?
yeah, and the class, all the people who weren't in the last class in the orientation will have introduced themselves, because
Okay.
I have another friend coming in too from Toronto. So.
Okay, great. I'm not the
Another guy I
only
met in
one.
Peru. So.
Okay, great. Good, good. That'll be wonderful. I guess while I have you here, I kind of sort of going crazy with all these classes because everything just looks so amazing right now. But yeah, I was very interested in some of the other classes that the school was offering.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if you know anything about those. I see I did get an email responding. I was just going to check that since I went into
Not
my
a
last
lot, but
meeting.
a little. I mean, I know
Okay.
George is teaching a class, George Bohr,
Yeah.
and it was originally change making to change artistry was the name of the class. But then he reoriented the university in light of the COVID story, so it's more about how do we care and how do we create a better future and create intelligence around that. But there's a lot of overlap between what the previous was, and I'm not sure what the other class is
So
actually.
there was like the self-organizing and mutual aid,
Right,
which
I think that's George's class now.
okay, which yeah, wasn't listed on the website, but it was on the form. So I just went, I'm like, well, I'm interested in
Right,
this one
and
too.
I think the website might actually be out of date because it still has the music courses.
Yeah,
And
it
the
did have,
website, no, actually, the website lists from me to we to all of us.
yeah, which was another one that sounded very interesting too. And
I think
so
that
like,
might be George's. Let me see here. Yeah, that's the one with George and
okay,
Aftab.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if the other one is the one that used to be about with Michael Bowens, who
I
used
think
to
that,
be,
yeah,
his class used to be about the commons. So that's
uh,
his area of specialty is the commons. And he's actually was running an organization that was dedicated to commons. I can't remember what the organization was now. But that's kind of
okay,
interesting idea, this idea of the commons and how it's sort of been taken from us and
yeah,
corporatized and
exactly. Now we need to reclaim it.
reclaiming the commons exactly, which is a whole subset of
Oh,
this sort of
yeah, I'm in those
structure now. So that's gonna
conversations
be
too.
cool too. Yeah.
How many hours kind of on our own? I mean, I know those endless rabbit holes with your podcast with all these movies and stuff that
Right.
we
I
can
mean, there's
watch,
endless
but
rabbit
what's
holes. It's hard to say. George was estimating figure 5 hours per week for the course, including the hour and a half for the course and other time. I mean,
cool?
we had people who were really busy with other things who didn't really do a project. We like to say that there is a project and you're working on a project, but it's not really about the project. So
Mhm.
that some people didn't do a project, although one of the people who didn't do a project is now the dean of students at Campus Co-Evolve. She was the dean of and she's going to be the community host for this one, Gina. And
Cool.
she was actually the dean of a film school in South Africa. She's now retired. And then she took our class and she was kind of so blown away by how it shifted her perceptual frame that she
Yeah,
is working with Campus Co Evolve now. And then we had
excellent.
somebody else whose project was a commercial for sleep. It was sort of done like a pharmaceutical commercial. What if we could offer you something that have this benefit and that benefit?
Love it.
There's, are
That's
you
very
ready? It's a good night's sleep every night, which she took from a book that was really beautifully done. Somebody else filmed a shot inside of an old library in Ireland, like it was like a 500-year-old building, and she took this whole shot. She went upside down every which way, and she narrated this kind of mythopoetic, off the cuff thing while she was describing the shot. And we're like, that's the project right there,
nice.
So
Oh,
that
that
was it.
sounds fun.
So and then someone else made a film, but which we didn't hear anything from her all like thing. And suddenly she's like, okay, let's show your project. She's like, well, okay, it's my first film. It was this amazing movie about this woman who's in Brazil or wherever she was trying to figure out her life, and she's got chaos. So it's more about the journey.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that sounds great. I also, through Abundant Earth Foundation that I run, supporting permaculture and grassroots efforts, also mentor youth, um, especially around like media projects they're trying to start
Oh,
and
cool.
like interview shows that we were supposed to be in Australia right now,
Oh,
gathering
really?
interviews and whatnot. And so I really look forward to sharing what I learn here with them. And then we're also
Definitely.
looking at kind of reclaiming radio as a means of teaching people how to grow food.
Mhm.
And so I think that, the more storytelling and interesting and everything that those projects can be.
Yep, that'd
Um,
be great. Well, we want a lot of young people too, because they're the future, obviously. And they
yeah,
tend to be more integral in general because they've grown up in this whole world of multiple viewpoints and
yeah,
they're experts at sorting them all out. So they're fairly advanced in any case. And the
yeah.
last cohort, the Victor, one of the guys, I'll send you his testimonial too. He was actually part of a group in Switzerland called the Team Squadra,
Mm,
Squadra Righello, actually they're called, and it actually is now a government program to help at-risk youths, which really means just people who can't get a normal job
yeah,
and who are getting money from the government. So this guy Alberto found this group, and they do like media and VR, and so we're like thinking they're going to be like young gangbangers, but actually Victor is just entirely sweet, really smart, brilliant artist who just is not really employable in the normal system because he comes from a messed up family, So it was great. And so he actually ended up, it changed his life and changed all of Squadra de Yellow. They started using all this stuff to think about how they're making media and just thinking just deeper about the construction of it. And a lot of it is also the way traditional media is done is you write a script and then you find some cash and then you try to film it. And the way you make integral stuff is you're kind of working on all the levels at once. So you can't just do the script. It's got to be, what's this going to look like? What's it going to sound like? What is our intention emotionally, and where do we want to start people and where do we want to take them? And then that has to be in the design of the whole thing. So the design process is really kind of deeper throughout, So I think we had that effect on Victor, which is great. He was like, wow, it's the best thing ever,
Excellent. Good. Yeah, I've got so many ideas and projects. It's one of my problems. And so I'm like, okay, do you want to
pick one? Bursting with ideas and enthusiasm, which is awesome. And we have, as I say, an amazing cohort of people. A lot of them have media background and experience. We have a young woman who's does 3D animation, who's living in Paris now. She's from somewhere in, I think, California also, originally, San Diego. Oh, cool. Living in Paris now and working on art. She's a really talented artist. Hopefully she's going to join the cohort as well. Which is good because I want to have more women and more young people both in this thing. I want to just like flood the world with people who are like advanced,
Yeah, wonderful.
So yeah, it would be great to have you on board.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I guess I'm at least partway through the registration. I'll still make my donation and finish up.
Yep. And the person to talk to there would be Anna, the finance fairy, who's also George's wife. She's really, really wonderful and very sweet and very smart, very wise.
Great.
She's like the who runs everything behind the scenes in a way.
Yeah, it's usually that way.
I like her. She's pretty awesome. She actually was the community host in the last class we did. This time it'll be Gina, who was in the previous class, and some of the people might drop by as well. So I'll send you the links. I'll send you the orientation, and I'll send you the whatever other links there. Oh, the testimonials from Rachel and Victor, who both took our previous class. So
well, I'm sold already. So
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, it says Mark. I'm actually Jonathan. That's
okay. Well, that's what I was thinking. But I'm like, all right, I'm just going to cheat and look at the name there. Okay, thank you. That makes more sense in our emailing.
Probably at the beginning, I'm Jonathan because we've been.
Thanks.
But what it is, this is the Integral Cinema Project Zoom account, which is in Mark's name, but we use the ICP Zoom because it's just kind of one we tend to use most.
Yeah, people use my account, and so they're like.
Yeah, we have an upgraded account too, so I can have multiple people for more than 40 minutes and that kind of stuff, and do breakouts. Yeah. I do other Zooms with it. So, but I'm Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you.
You'll meet Mark. Mark's my neighbor here. He and I go back 30 years. We worked in films together in LA back in the day, and then he went off and did integral theory. He did transpersonal psychology first, and then he went to integral theory. Wow. So that's cool. It's beautiful up there in Arcata. I'm going to move up there one day, maybe somewhere up around that area. Arcata.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Ashland too, so it could be Oregon.
Yeah, between here and Ashland is incredible with all the big trees and just the big open beaches. I just
don't want to be near the forest fires.
Yeah. Down here, I mean, knock on wood, we were like the only place on the West Coast that didn't have smoke last year.
Oh, really? Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
My son goes up there a lot, actually, at Arcata. We're up Humboldt area, just north.
It's great. And actually, I mean, one of the projects I'm thinking of doing for the class is a film about Humboldt, who was actually one of the most fascinating men ever to live, but nobody knows about him. So.
And Humboldt?
Alexander von Humboldt.
Oh, Alexander von Humboldt. Oh, you're actually
who Humboldt County is named after, but nobody knows about him. But talk about an integral, I mean, he's the one who came up with the web of life and the Gaia theory and realized that all of nature is connected and different climatic zones. I mean, he basically figured out that all of science is related.
I just heard something about her, read something about him. I was reading some book about either Victorian science or old science, or I don't remember what it was. It might have been one of David McCullough's books. I've read a bunch of his stuff, so really great history.
Well, I'm looking forward to this class because it just brings together so many of my passions.
Cool. So the timing is Mondays at noon now, California time, which hopefully works better for us than Mondays at 11, but because we have people in Europe, so it's like 9 p.m. for them is noon,
Yeah.
They all said okay, so that's going to be it. So
I have a midnight meeting tonight. I'm taking the short end of the stick with everybody else around the world because it's Europe and Australia. And I'm like, fine, I'll do midnight.
Right. Yeah. Our class last time was at 11 p.m. actually. Our time.
Yeah,
We
it
also had
makes
a
it
guy in
tough.
Singapore. So Singapore is like 16 hours, like 3 in the afternoon for him.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, noon works, so I'm glad for that.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll send you the info. I'm sure you got the info from Samira and Anna, and so you can communicate with them, but I'll send you the
Yeah.
link like that as
Okay,
well.
great. All
Awesome.
right,
Nice meeting
Jonathan,
you.
great. You too.
I
I'll
look
see you
forward to
Monday.
seeing you Monday in the class.
Me too. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.